And so for years, I had tons of odd jobs just doing different things. In fact, I actually went to college for culinary arts. Don't use that. It doesn't matter how big or small your company is. If you're making money, someone's gonna want to steal it. It popped in my head from The Walking Dead. The scene outside the prison, I put Jerry's face on it, and he absolutely loved it. I think the biggest thing would be you're going to hit those roadblocks. A lot of people think, I know just about everything, and you'll learn quick. You don't. Don't ever let them be discouraging. Try to use them as learning.
Simply Secured, Elevating Cyber Careers is a podcast dedicated to the telling of real stories of cybersecurity practitioners. They are on the ground solving problems, leading teams, and building secure systems. Hosted by James McQuiggan at 35,000 feet, each episode features an honest, engaging conversation with someone whose work in cybersecurity might not make headlines, but makes a real impact. Hello there, and welcome to Simply Secured. I'm your host, James McQuiggan, at 35,000 feet. And today, we're joined by Dan Rearden, better known in our cybersecurity community of Simply Cyber as the one, the only, the haircut fish. Now, Dan works by day as a SOC analyst, working to defend those networks from all those various and evolving threats. He's built a great career making that famous leap from the IT help desk right into the security operations center. But Dan's got a secret weapon that you won't find in any cybersecurity textbook. He loves generating those famous memes that we see on the daily cyber threat brief. You could say he's a bit of a meme lord. So he's using his humor to entertain, teach, connect, and make cybersecurity more accessible for everyone. Please make sure to subscribe to the podcast and all the other fantastic podcasts here with the Simply Cyber Media Group. I hope you're seated comfortably and ready to laugh and learn as we chat with Dan, the haircut fish, Rearden, here today.
I am a haircut fish. I am a SOC analyst. I've been in cyber for a little under a year, actually, and loving it.
Ready for takeoff.
Alrighty, welcome back, everybody, to another great episode of Simply Secured. As you know, I'm joined today by the haircut fish. Just for clarification, you want to be called Dan, or should I call you the haircut fish?
You can call me Dan on here. It's a little quicker than keep saying haircut fish, but I go by either. Usually when I go to conferences, I'll tell them who I am. They're like, who? I'm a haircut fish. Like, oh yeah, we know who you are. So usually in the wild, I go haircut fish, but formal, I'll do Dan.
So is that haircut fish with an F or a PH?
That is with an F. I came up with that name years and years ago, back in high school. I came up with haircut fish, and I've used it for several things, but it is kind of stuck as like a name for myself. The story behind it is very dumb, but I was also in high school, so whatever. I literally was in the mood for Long John Silver's, and when I was going in the entrance of my mall, there was a haircut place right there. So haircut fish is how I came up with that name, and the rest is history.
And it's stuck. So I was going to say, worst case scenario, we just call you HCF. But yeah, no, we'll stick with Dan. So in your intro, you said you've only just made the jump into cybersecurity, and we're all making our own path and way here in cybersecurity. But I'm curious, Dan, what was the aha moment for you when you realized that cybersecurity was the path you wanted to take?
So it started a lot when I was younger. I always really did enjoy tech, but I never felt like I was smart enough to be in it. And so for years, I had tons of odd jobs just doing different things. In fact, I actually went to college for culinary arts. Don't use that. But so I had tons of odd jobs. And then in 2020, before pandemic, whatever, I blew my knee out. And I was out of work, off my feet for most of that year. So I figured while I was off, I was like, well, I can't go back to the physical job I was doing. I've always really did enjoy IT, and now with YouTube and everything, I I feel like I could learn it. And so I started down the road of IT. But as I'm going down it, I learned about like cybersecurity. I started learning more and more about it, and it brought me back to like my younger days where I'm like, that would be so cool, but I was not smart enough and all that. But now I'm like, you know what? I can do this. And so I started like diving in. I started doing TryHackMe rooms and learning what I can. And I don't have any certifications. Well, that technically that's a lie now. I do have one for Linux Essentials, but I don't have the typical ones that you would see for cybersecurity. All my learning I have done either through TryHackMe rooms or just self-taught, like looking up what I can. So it was been a very self-guided way of learning.
Very cool. And it's certainly quite the journey that you're taking. Are you finding that there's any skills back from your days of the IT help desk that have been real valuable? And is there a, one that surprised you that's helping you while now in the SOC?
One of the things that I used to do, and I tried pushing in some of my previous IT jobs, is like documentation. Um, Not necessarily for, oh, I'm going to create like an SOP, but more along the lines of I'm doing this thing over and over again, or I'm repeating the same phrase over and over. So having my own personal documentation that I can like repository I can reach into of quick responses. How do I triage this? And just like my own note slash playbook on what to do. Started back in when I was on the help desk, and I've transitioned that into most every job that I've gone into. I'll usually have several notebook, notepad, whatever's open on my desktop, each one for a different thing, and I try and like break them down so that I know I'm not redoing the wheel. Essentially, I figured it out once. I don't have to go back and figure it out again. This is what I did last time to do it.
Yeah, when in my days of working help desk, a lot of it for me was troubleshooting, was being able to break down a problem, look at it logically, look at it in a simple form, and work through the issue and that logic of troubleshooting. So, hat tip to you, sir, for your years of service on the help desk. When you have now transitioned to working at a security operations center, what's that typical day like for you? Is there, you're doing the same thing over and over again, or is it looking at different types of threats? What's that workflow like when an alert comes in?
So break it down a little bit here. So for my typical day, yeah, first thing I come in, I'm checking on any responses that might have come in while I was away, checking emails, doing that. That's usually pretty quick and gets done. Once I'm done with that, I'll look in the queue, and I'm always looking at the oldest ticket. And this also kind of goes back to my restaurant days, like first in, first out. So I'm always working on that oldest ticket so that we can keep those responses at good times. So then I'm triaging those, looking through the logs, trying to see, hey, is this false positive? Is this something we need to let the customer know? And going from there. Once we get to a point where the queue's in good shape, I have a few projects in the works. One of them, I've been very vocal in my interview with my current employer. I want to do detection engineering. That's where I want to go into. And so I told them that, and they're like, you know what, we got a good path forward for you here with that. So I have a couple projects that I'm working on that are working towards that end. And so it's so easy to be like, okay, I got this alert, and I do this with it when I'm triaging. How do I want to pull just what I want from the logs. So I'm creating queries that, okay, I'm getting these logs. I want this information from it. This will tell me what I need to know. And so in my notes, I have a small repository of, oh, this alert comes in. I'm going to put that query in, change up, add the username, maybe the source IP, so send it, see what comes back, and I can triage. It kind of goes into the whole coding as well that I've done previously. I get into it, and it's just one of those things that you'll lose time doing it.
Yeah, I can certainly attest to the fact that once you start working on a project, time just becomes irrelevant. You're just so focused and working on that. One of the things that I believe I saw of a presentation of yours dealt with business email compromise and BEC, and that's a big topic that a lot of organizations deal with. But for the folks that are watching here today, when you come across something that's suspected as a business email compromise incident, what's that high level process look like for you? Is there like one or two red flags that stand out that you're able to go, oh yeah, we're dealing with a BEC?
So in some cases, or well, most cases, like we're not getting the client's emails and being like, hey, they clicked that. So on our end, we might get an alert that comes in, user risk detection. There's some risk that came in with the way the user logged in via the IP's reputation. It could be that the company typically has their control acts or conditional access policy set to no logins outside the US. Whatever it is, that alert will come in. We will triage it and look to see about, was the login coming from a trusted device? Was it? We'll search the IP address from the login, see what reputation it has. Is it have known bad attached to it? What's the user agent look like? Sometimes that's a real quick tell, because there are known bad user agents. In fact, I believe there's a whole GitHub list of bad user agents. And so we're looking at these and grabbing these pieces that don't quite fit, essentially. And if we do suspect that it is a BEC, then we will give the customer a call like, hey, we got this. This is our evidence. You need to revoke any active sessions, reset the user's passwords, and start investigation. And so I personally have not had a ticket come in that was, but I've had some very close ones that looked very suspicious. But after reaching out to the client, they're like, no, that person is on vacation in that area. So it's like, okay, but the talk that you mentioned for BEC, which in fact I mentioned a company that you may be well aware of, know before.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. My one friend has a company in the area that does marketing. And so the last Wednesday of every month, they have experts come in for different aspects to help instruct small businesses on whatever their expertise are. So he said, hey, would you like to come speak on cybersecurity? I'm like, sure, why not? I'm like, I'll do it on business email compromise. It doesn't matter how big or small your company is. Like, and I in fact had a question from one of the people there. They're like, well, we typically have these small businesses, and you're mentioning like big corporations. I said, it doesn't matter how big you are. If you're making money, someone's gonna want to steal it. And so it can happen to anyone. And so I gave them some techniques for just looking at some emails that come in that might tip them off. Because the one I presented was very intriguing and very real looking. And I used ChatGPT. I explained to them the email address and the fake invoice. Took me all but 5 minutes. But there are a few things that you can spot even within that to help you mitigate whether or not it's real. And so in that case, I was spoofing the company who asked me to come talk. spoofing their domain for the email address. But I said, if you look at it, you'll see it's coming from a Gmail. It's not even coming from their company's email address. And the way I was looking at it was through Outlook, and Outlook even has, hey, you don't typically get this email from this person. So that's already starting to help watch out for you. But the other thing I pointed out to them is if you see any hyperlinks, never trust them at face value. I said, hover over them, and right away you should be able to tell, hey, this isn't going to the place that I'm thinking it's going. They seem to enjoy it. I had some good talks afterwards with some of the attendees, and I told my friend, I said, if you ever need me to come back, talk cybersecurity, I will gladly do it.
It's like I tell people that have me come and do presentations. It's just like my wedding day. You just tell me where and when, I'll show up and I'll deliver the presentation. Ironically, my first presentation I did on behalf of KnowBe4 was on BEC. So done a lot of those presentations over the years. You were mentioning before, and I want to come back to that, about developing your own tools with Python. Pick one that's either one you're working on or one that you've done before. But I'm really curious about what prompted the idea to do that, to create that program. And, how important do you feel that scripting development skills are needed for current SOC analysts?
The program I probably liked the most that I did, and I actually put the most work into, was the domain checker script I came up with in Python. When I was doing that, it was at a previous job, and we had to check emails on the validity of the emails. So I'm already running a lot of these checks and basically running dig on it. I can do this in Python. Like this isn't going to be hard. So my first iteration of it looked absolutely terrible, and it just vomited everything onto the screen. And so you had to keep scrolling to look through it. And I'm like, it works, but it doesn't look great. So then the second iteration is now what is actually up on my GitHub. And that one, it gives you a clear, concise on the domain. It'll pull the who is, looking at both the time it was created and the time it was updated. That way you can see, was it recently created or was it recently updated? Because that could easily ruin a reputation if it was. And then it'll pull the DNS records of it as well. So you can find out the IP address. You can find out what is there any A records? What does it have? And then lastly, that script actually curls the site to see, does it have many redirects? Does it even actually exist? And so it gives you a nice, clear, concise readout in your terminal. And I use that a lot previously. I don't use it as much anymore because I'm not checking those emails, but I really enjoyed that, and I put a lot of time into that script. One of the things with Python, I do believe it's not a necessity to be a SOC analyst. I don't use it as much as I was using it actually while I was on the help desk. But I still want to learn it because as a detection engineer, that'll also kind of help me in the long run. Plus, it's a lot of fun to build these little scripts, and it kind of works on my creativeness. I love being creative, and if I can make a little script that does something for me, in fact, there's another one I have that defangs IP addresses, and I think I updated it to defang domains as well. And
Very
it's
cool.
something easy that can be done in CyberChef, but I can just paste it in a terminal, run that Python, and it'll do it for me. And so if you are in any way interested, I say make dumb little programs to learn it and to kind of find your bearings. And from there, you'll find a love. And it doesn't even need to be Python. It can be any scripting language, really.
I will have your link to your GitHub in the show notes. And while we've been chatting, I've had a quick peek and saw your DNS checker and your defang program, and I'm thinking, ooh, I'm going to have to check these out. I would encourage anybody that's working on TryHackMe, stay out of your write-ups, because I'm sure that kind of gives, that's good for checking afterward. But
I've had people compliment me on them where they were stuck on a problem and other write-ups they looked at didn't explain it well. The way did my write-ups, I was doing it as if I'm doing it right then, and because that's kind of how I was doing it. But I also wanted to explain it as if it's somebody's first day doing it. Like, what is this? And so that's why a lot of the times you'll see me put those little shortcuts like, oh, copy, Control C, paste, Control V. Like somebody that's a veteran doesn't need to know that. But somebody that, hey, that it might be their first time ever doing something and they didn't know you could copy and paste from the keyboard like that. So it's just those little touches that I think takes the write-ups from being just this is a straight walkthrough to this might be a walkthrough, but this also explains why it's this. But then again, I also do include at time, like most of the time, if I went down a rabbit hole and went the wrong direction on something, because I want to let people know it's gonna happen. It just does. This is what I did. It wasn't right, but it doesn't mean it was wrong. It taught me, and I learned that way. So
right. So with TryHackMe, with Hack the Box and those environments, those cyber ranges, we find, as you say, we hit those brick walls. We have those challenges. What challenges are you seeing in your new role working in a SOC that most people may not be aware of, that they wouldn't think about?
I think the biggest thing would be you're going to hit those roadblocks. A lot of people think, "Oh, I'm a SOC analyst now. I don't need to go learn anything else. I don't need to. I know just about everything." And you'll learn quick. You don't. And every day I'm learning something new, or I will make a query for something and I'll screw something up, or it's not exactly what I want. And so I'm constantly redoing it. You're gonna hit those roadblocks. Don't ever let them be discouraging. Try to use them as learning. And I know mentally you're gonna leave some days feeling like you did absolutely nothing. Because you hit a roadblock, you could not get past it. But just remember that's just one day. That's not entirety, and you will get past it eventually. Like it all depends on your learning style, how tenacious you are, and how much you want to fight to know that answer.
Good advice for anybody that's looking to try and get into the SOC. Now, I'm going to probably get to a question here that I think you're going to like, and I think um, a lot of people might be curious. Is the whole origin of your cybersecurity memes? We know that our good friend Dr. Gerald Ozier, every Thursday or every day has the mid roll, and in the mid roll there's a different thing every day. And on Thursdays, it's become the meme of the week. And you are certainly famous for your cybersecurity memes that however you create them. What I'm curious to know, and I'm not a big fan of doing the origin stories, but this is one I want to hear about. But how did that start for you? And how does humor play in our community overall? So how did it start and kind of go from there?
So it started probably, I believe it was back in 2021, probably mid to late 2021. I was a follower of the Simply Cyber Daily Cyber Threat Briefing. I learned about the show actually from doing a TryHackMe room. It was a Yara rules room, and Jerry had a video on Yara rules, which made me learn about the channel, and then I learned about the live stream. So once I learned about it, I was hooked, and I always had it on at work in the morning watching it. And so I use GIMP to make my memes. And so I I used it prior a couple times to kind of like just make some strange whatever, or but then Jerry has the Carl sound effect, and it popped in my head from The Walking Dead, because that's what it's from. The scene outside the prison where Rick is walking, and then he leans to say Carl, and I put Jerry's face on it, and I sent it over, and he absolutely loved it. In fact, he shared it. I believe he shared it on the Discord and might have shared it on the stream. And so it started from there, and I didn't even do a bunch of Jerry memes at that point. I was more focused. I was doing a lot more John Strand memes. So I was putting him in things. I think my big break was the famous photo of John Hammond walking across the street at, I think it was RSA. Some fan took it of him and posted on Twitter. So I took that and I put him in different things. I actually have him walking with Bigfoot in one of them. He's riding Nessie in another. I did put him in a Where's Waldo. That one turned out really well. And actually, Deb from Black Hills told me that she goes, I wasted too much time at work trying to find him, but I did. Sorry, Deb, I kind of outed you on here. And so, but that's how I got started. I started making these memes, and they play to my creativeness. I love being creative. I love just the act of making things. I have some crocheted stuff because I've crocheted, and that's a outlet for my creativity. But so with the memes, I just have expanded, and now I have a folder with countless ones in there. In fact, my Dropbox is filling up, and I need to shuffle them over to something else. But with that, that was kind of the catalyst to make a name for myself in cyber. People knew me for the memes, and because of that, it helped me to reach others with my write-ups. And I love to go to conferences, and if somebody even recognizes me, I then can talk to them about cyber. Like, hey, yeah, you make the memes. And that's kind of the start of the conversation. But then we talk, like, first off, I can't believe I'm as popular as I am, which sounds terrible. I sound like I'm full of myself, but I thank the community for loving what I'm doing, and I love to do it as well. But yeah, from there, I believe I don't know if I asked Jerry or if Jerry asked me about the Thursdays, but I ended up saying, well, we could call it like, what's your meme Thursday? And so he's like, sure, yeah, if you want to do one each week, that's fine. And I have done one pretty much every week, and I've only missed one or two in 3 years.
That's fantastic. That's impressive. I mean, keeping with that and providing that humor to the community, and everybody gets it. And I know that I've reached out to you a couple times. Jerry will say something on a Wednesday. I think it was back in February at the Threat Locker conference, and it was all of us, a bunch of us on the couch, and there was or it was the day before that, but a comment was made in a show, and I reached out to you going, Dan, you gotta, here's a great idea for the meme. And so I know that you listen to the rest of us as well as your own creativity. So
Oh yeah.
always
No,
appreciate that.
I'm always asking if you have ideas. Feel free to shoot me a message on Discord, what have you. I'm always open for ideas, because there are weeks where it's literally hours before the show, and I'm just making it then because I either had a creative block during or I was super busy. And in fact, the meme that was done for this past Thursday, which I know this is going to be later on, I sent Jerry a few weeks ago, and this whole week I've been super busy and I didn't even get to do it. And so there'll be times where I'll have a creative spurt and I'll make like 3 or 4 of them and I'll send them over to Jerry. But yeah, usually I try and keep them as relevant as what has happened that week. And so, yeah.
And can certainly attest to trying to get ahead because you have Thursdays with the meme of the week. I provide the Friday dad joke of the week, which I humbly accepted after Callan wasn't so keen or wasn't able to as much. So, or Grayson, one of Jerry's boys. Now that I've just outed them, but I can edit that out. But yeah, providing the dad jokes of the week, it's sometimes it's a good idea to get ahead and get prepped because we're supporting the community. We're providing a little bit of humor, a little more opportunities for everybody to come together, which works out really, really well. I'm curious, do you have your own personal favorite?
Yes, it's one of my early ones. And it's not of Jerry or anybody. It's actually of my daughter. She does this really funny thing where she'll cross her eyes. I can actually do it, which you can see there. She crosses her eyes, and so this is when I was still in the help desk, but I was really starting to focus on cybersecurity. It's of her crossing her eyes, and it just says, "What I look like when I see bad cybersecurity." And so I made that years ago, but I love it just because it's funny and she's both funny looking and cute in the picture.
Looking at the memes, the write ups that you've done, your code that you're providing, you're also, and with your TryHackMe and everything else, but you've also participated in some of the capture the flags, some of the CTFs that we have available. How has that been for you, been successful and helped grow your own skill set?
I absolutely love the capture the flags. I am like Jerry where I probably shouldn't, because once I start, I am fully diving in face down trying to get them. Um and there are quite a few times during them, the monthly ones we have, I'm working on something until the very last second. And one big piece of advice I can tell anybody that's doing them is do not focus on one challenge for an extended period of time. I fall into this trap every single CTF. I tell myself not to, but I do. Um, because what you'll do is you will kind of keyhole yourself into, I believe it's this. And so I'm just going to keep focusing on that one little thing. I might look at different angles of it, but then now you're going to miss all maybe the questions you do know. So my key for that is if you're doing a CTF, go in and first see if you can spot ones you definitely know. Go answer them. Do those ones first. Once you're done with those, go to the ones you're not so sure about and try and answer. See if you can figure them out relatively quickly. If you can't, again, move on. And it's after you've answered and done all of the ones that you know you can do that you move on to the ones you know you can't. And that's when you can put more research into them, because you should have more time while you, I guess, sit on the points you do have. And so I've tried that. I usually start out with that mindset, but then I'll get to a point with the monthly ones where I'm hammering on one, because I'll get to the ones I'm like, I have absolutely no idea, and I'll be sitting on it for a while. But I usually don't end up giving up until the very end.
Good advice to all those that participate in those CTFs. Answer the ones you know real quick, and if there isn't some blocking you, then keep moving on, and then go back and focus on the ones. Kind of like same thing with exams, with certifications. And I know at the beginning you had mentioned that you hadn't earned any. So I'm curious, are there any certs that you would like to obtain?
Right now, I'm contemplating. That's actually something that I'm thinking about, especially going into detection engineering and not having the typical learning path to getting into cyber. I know there's probably a lot of basics, unfortunately, that I don't fully know because I was the ADHD rabbit jumping like, "Ooh, this looks cool. Let's go do that. Oh, that looks okay. Let's go do that." So one of the things I've been recently thinking about was actually Security Plus. Like, learn a lot of those basics. And a big shout out actually to Jesse Johnson. He sent me a study guide a while ago for the Security Plus, and so I thought, you know what? I need to get these basics down so that I fully understand what's going on. And that's probably going to be the direction I end up going in certification wise. Other than that, I would go for detection engineering one, but there's not that type of certification yet.
One other one to consider, I mean, if you're going to be doing your Security Plus as a ISC2 member, CISSP holder, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the ISC2 CC, the Certified in Cybersecurity. And you can take that for free. So if you're studying for that Security Plus, doing your ISC2 CC, you'll be able to take that for free. So something to think about, kind of, ponder, plant that seed, and we'll go from there. So now we get to the part of the show where we do our rapid fire questions. So starting off, if cybersecurity is an animal, what would it be?
I think it would either be a bear or a raccoon.
What word do you like in cybersecurity?
Data.
Data. Not DADA, DATA.
Funny story on that. I used to say data, but then at a previous work, somebody only said data. So I actually switched between the two terms, and now I'm saying data more than data.
And if you're from the UK or Australia, it's data. So great. That's your favorite word. What's a word you don't like that's in cybersecurity?
On call.
All right. So magic wand time here. If you could fix one thing in cybersecurity, you fix it, it goes away forever. What would it be?
Better logging. More intuitive logging.
More intuitive logging. I like it. Okay. What cybersecurity tool do you enjoy using? We'll say GIMP, but I'll let you pick another one.
Cybersecurity tool, Power Query with SentinelOne.
What is a personal or cybersecurity book that you've enjoyed reading?
I don't read too much, and I know I need to read more, but the one that I got most of the way through was Sandworm. I did find it very interesting. I really enjoy that book, and I do plan on finishing it up.
Ta-da!
Ooh.
Very good book, Andy Samberg. And he also wrote Tracers in the Dark.
Funny enough, shortly after reading Sandworm, I reached out to him just on LinkedIn. Just send him a connection, and he accepted. I was like, that's awesome.
Andy's a very nice guy. Yeah, very easygoing, very laid back. Yeah, very good. Okay, what profession or job would you like to attempt?
To kind of stick with my creativeness, maybe graphic design or something along those lines.
So on the flip side, what profession or job would you not like to do?
Anything back in retail. I did that for long enough, and I honestly never want to go back.
So you would probably also say that's the worst job you've had to?
Yes and no. I had great coworkers there, but it's unfortunately dealing with the not so nice customers. Granted, I've had amazing customers, but it's the few that spoil the whole thing.
If there was a sandwich to be named after you, the haircut fish, what would be in it?
Pastrami, definitely. Then it would be real mayonnaise, none of that Miracle Whip stuff. So probably like Hellman's or Duke's mayonnaise, some shredded lettuce, pickles, black olives. The bun's gotta it can be warm, not even toasted. Nice warm bun, and some Parmesan sprinkled on there.
Yummy. All right. If you could ask one person one question and they had to answer truthfully, who and what would you ask?
I would, and you know what? I could actually do it at any time, but I'd ask Jerry, what's your favorite meme and what would you like to see me do? I know it's kind of two questions, but what would you like to see me do with it in the future?
What is one place you would love to fly to?
Tokyo.
Very cool.
I think, granted, the amount of people there would probably freak me out, but I think I'd be too enamored with everything going on that I could hopefully get past that.
Very good. Very good. If you can only have 3 apps on your phone, which ones are they?
Discord, Spotify, and we're going to go YouTube.
All right. So we can communicate, we can listen to music and watch all kinds of stuff on YouTube. All right. What do you see as the biggest threat in cybersecurity in the next 10 years?
I'd say AI, but that's very broad. I think it's more along the use of AI in and around everything, both threat actors using it or it being implemented where it doesn't need to be.
What is one cybersecurity myth you would like to dispel?
The myth of that you see the videos of the day in the life of the SOC analyst, where it's, I'm just waking up. I'm going to drink my coffee. I'm going to do my emails. Well, I'm going to go out for a walk, come back. I'll do 1 or 2 alerts. No, that's definitely not it. You're kind of in the trenches. It sounds bad, but it really isn't. Like you're doing stuff, you're triaging. And I guess in the same vein of that, you're not alone. You have a team. A lot of people think, and I did for the longest time, you're by yourself. No, you have a team. You have people you can reach out to. So that'd probably be it.
Yeah, one thing a lot of folks don't realize is you have a supporting team. You have a group of people that are there to help you, guide you, and everything else. What do you want your legacy in cybersecurity to be?
Just the spread of knowledge and kindness to others. I try and do that with my write-ups. I want to give back to those that have helped me. I always feel that it's something that I always wanted to do. So just like kindness and knowledge, and just helping your fellow cybersecurity worker.
Excellent. No, I can certainly agree to that. Being kind to everybody, don't gatekeep, help people. We are more successful when we all work together, and that's certainly the case here. Dan, this has been an amazing half an hour, 40 minutes. I mean, the time's just flown by. I feel we could keep going for another 2 hours. And maybe we will when we're at Wild West Hackin' Fest, which is, I know, where folks will be able to see you. I'm sure there'll be some fun and enjoyable memes that come out of that event. So, Dan, it has been fantastic. It's been wonderful to chat with you, and real excited that you were able to take some time and chat with everybody else and share your perspectives on working on the SOC and your history and of course the memes, and thanks again for your quick responses on the rapid fire. So again, thanks to everybody that's been here listening today. Big thank you to Dan for being a part of the podcast, and thanks everybody for watching, and thanks for stopping by.